since this year is a Hakhel year, we put together this booklet of the all the primary sources about Hakhel. One of the things that we covered, the din is that the king has to do Hakhel. Why does the king have to do Hakhel? Why dafka the king? So I never knew this about Daniel Patrick Moynihan. You remember him?
Sure.
I was responsible
For him being elected.
not for him being for him appointing my cousin as a judge. Right after I put up the mezuzahs, he called her and appointed her lifetime appointment federal judge.
He was a good friend of Israel.
Right hand guy was from guy.
From guy, right, Mr. Lugans, right, and I was the first time I actually went to see Washington as a, I went with my kids. I'm coming now from Pennsylvania Avenue, straight on the highway, straight to Beis Menachem. So I'm a little late.
Oh, you were in Washington?
Yeah.
I'm coming there tomorrow.
Oh.
Tomorrow morning.
What time you
could've
leaving?
waited.
Flying? How you going?
9.
So
My son is driving.
Oh.
Ezra Tisha.
Anyway.
So-
Yeah.
at a museum on Pennsylvania Avenue, the kids wanted to go to a place called Museum.
Yeah, it's in right.
Very nice museum about the impact of the press, news, a museum of news.
Right.
So they said they had their thing about Daniel Patrick Moynihan. They said that place, Pennsylvania Avenue, was a dump of dumps, of biggest dump in the United States of America. Up to in the 70s, the place was a churban. It was a dump dumps.
What are you talking about?
It was the inner city, basically.
I'm a Washingtonian.
I basically tell you there's the most crime in Washington. I will tell you, per capita is the most
I'm telling
crime.
you
I will
what.
tell you.
You go on the observatory, the top floor of the museum tomorrow when you're there.
No,
There's a
I'm
big
not
flag.
going there. I'm going to visit my mother's
Okay.
grave.
I'm telling you what was written. That,
I worked on Pennsylvania Avenue.
what year?
I think 73
Okay, they said up to 1970. Listen to the.
up to 9. Well, I'm a Washingtonian. I don't remember.
That's what they say. And they say Daniel Patrick Moynihan couldn't take it anymore, and he made a what's it called, a company, whatever it was called, a DC company, Pennsylvania company, and they cleaned up the street. They cleaned up the why, because it was at the inauguration of one of the presidents that he saw this place stinks. It looks like a disheveled place. So this is the capital of the United States of America.
Yeah, Ishkan covered.
So Nishkin covered. The press of the whole world is coming, and the cameras are running.
He fixed it.
He said they said that it was his credit. The whole place, so the way you see it today, that it's clean and nice and fixed up. They said there's even some little square and a plaque up or something up in his honor for all the work that he did to clean up Washington D.C. That's what they said. Just telling you what the museum. And this is I'm just telling you almost word for word, like on the observatory. The big picture of Daniel Patrick
So
Moynihan.
what has to do with
All
what's
over
that?
Washington were
I
beautiful
know it's a
green
lead-in.
spots.
Huh?
Lady Bird Johnson.
I will tell you. She was a wonderful woman.
Beautiful.
Recently graduated from the last year.
So, why? Because he said when the president's inauguration has to be covered.
Yeah.
It has to be covered.
Yeah.
Why is it that the Melech has to read the Parsha of Hakhel?
Okay.
So, is it covered for the Melech or is it covered for the Hakhel? Why don't the Rosh Yeshiva read it? Let the Rosh Yeshiva, let the Gamliel read it. Let the Nasi read it. Rosh HaBezdin, the Sanhedrin. Why does the Melech have to read it? So, the thought that I presented on the second day of Yom Tov was, if you look in Derech Mitzvah Secha, a sefer from the Tzemach Tzedek, who explains the reasons of mitzvahs, the Pnimius, there's mitzvahs Melech, and he explains what's the purpose of mitzvahs Melech. So because a Yidden have to have Yireh Shamayim, and the Melech instills Yireh Shamayim into the people. He instills Yireh Shamayim. Through the Melech, they receive Yireh Shamayim. Their Yiddish Shemayim comes through him. How? So on a simple level is they, there's no mayhem. It wouldn't be Moira Malchus, there'd be one big 60s. It would be anarchy.
It's the king is law and order. So law and order is the
They
order
understand.
of the law of the Torah.
Right.
So,
That's on a very simple level.
okay.
Tzemach Tzedek doesn't say this. I'm saying this.
Okay.
Tzedek says that the king is a tzaddik, like David the Melech, and that's why the Rambam says Kshemchik Shecholak Loikoag Hakadosh Baruch Hu Hakavod Hazeh, that they said that everyone has to fear the king. Same Tasam Alechem Melech Sheyirosei Alecho. You have to read. Kach Tziva Hakadosh Baruch Hu, that the Leva Melech has to be shuffled b'kirba. The Rebbe explains. What is the Rambam trying to say here? There's two separate halachas. You have to have fear of the king, and the king has to have fear from the Eibishter.
Yeah.
The Rambam makes the whole thing like a pilpul. Just like you have to have fear of the king, the king's heart has to be very humble in front of God. There's two separate things. They're not two separate things. When the king's heart is very humble in front of God, when he has an absolute Yiddish Shemayim like David HaMelech, and the people are bottled to him, so through him they get Yiddish Shemayim. Verstehst? This is a Rebbe Shazachen.
In other words, because they see that the king is so chashav and all the pomp and all of this, and he's from, so that's mashpia. Is that what
Yes.
the idea?
Yes.
And that's what he says is the time.
That's the time for a Melech.
The Derech will say so.
Derech Tzedek Tzemach Tzedek.
Okay, so it's very, it's very logical.
And then he has an interesting, very interesting thing. He says like this. Why was Shmuel angry that the Jews asked for a Melech?
Yeah.
They said they want a king, and it's one of the Tayag mitzvahs to have a king.
Yeah.
Why was he upset?
Yeah.
So he says like this. This idea of instilling Yiddish Shemayim is only for someone who doesn't have it. A Talmid Chochem, he doesn't need it. A Talmid Chochem doesn't need a Melech. So he says like this. Therefore, Shmuel was angry. He wanted that the Yidden should be on the level that they don't need a Melech.
Right. It's not realistic.
Oh, so the Eibishter said, that's what the Eibishter said, it's not realistic. Then he says like this, when Mashiach is going to come, why do we need a Melech? All the Yidden already be Talmidei Chachamim. What Lord is this? He said no, because there's two levels in Yiddish Shemayim. There's Yiddish Tato and Yiddish Eloah. The regular Yiddish Shemayim we get through Melech. Talmid Chacham doesn't need a Melech. So Shmuel Anav was hoping that all the Yidden wouldn't need a Melech. But there is Yiddish Eloah, even a Talmid Chacham doesn't have it. Melech and Mashiach will instill Yiddish Eloah to Klal Yisrael. That's why we're going to need a Melech, and Mashiach will come. So Bizman Hazeh, Melech gives us Yiddish Tato. The Talmid Chacham doesn't need a Melech. So the Rebbe has a beautiful chiddush on this. The Rebbe says that we find that Yoshafat was a king, and whenever he saw Talmid Chacham, he would kiss him and hug him and bow to him. And the Rambam says that he did it in private, but he never did it in public. So the shaila is, in private, you could eat pork in private. If it's a mitzvah for the Talmid Chacham to be Mechabed the Melech, so why in private could the Melech humiliate himself in front of the Talmid Chacham? But according to the Tzemach Tzedek, we versteht, because the Talmid Chacham doesn't need a Melech. Melech in Bizman Hazeh instills Yiddish Tatorah, and that we don't need. We don't need that. And Mashiach will come, the Melech will instill Yiddish Eloah. Oh, that every Yid needs. Even Talmidei Chachamim, they don't have Yiddish Eloah, they have Yiddish Tatorah. Yiddish Tatorah is something you can acquire. If you don't have it, the Melech will help you get it. Talmidei Chachamim already have it, they don't need a Melech.
You mean Melech Shemachlak Fodo is ain't for the Machlak.
Bring this to the sugya.
Is that the question about why how he's allowed to hug and kiss?
So turn to the second page here, Daf Mem Aleph Amud Beis. Before we continue, just one akuda. So I think that this is what we said, that why does the Melech have to read the Parsha of Hakhel? Because the whole idea of Parsha of Hakhel is L'man Yishma Val Yilmo V'yoru, to have Yiddish Shemayim. And the Melech's job is to instill Yiddish Shemayim. That's why we need a Melech. Helft the Eibishter that after the end of Sukkot, someone gave me this Shimas. The first Verbrengen that Rebbe ever gave. His father-in-law forced him. He wasn't interested. That Rebbe's father-in-law said that you have to Verbring for the Olam. He was out of town, so he sent the telegrams. He wasn't going to refuse public requests from his father-in-law. The first Verbrengen that Rebbe ever Verbring was Simchat Beis Sheva, Tofresh Tzadik Beis.
Is that in France?
30, no, in Poland.
Oh, in Poland.
31.
Oh, in Warsaw. No, in Warsaw.
I don't know if it was in Warsaw, Vodsk, right outside. So that was the first Verbrengen. Very long Verbrengen. It started at, I think, 8 or 9 in the evening, and it went to 4 o'clock in the morning. Then they found the Rebbe's desk. They found all the notebooks after Gimel Tammuz, and the top of one of the notebooks was an entry, Simchas Beis Sheva Tofresh Tzadik Beis, that he wrote himself as a preparation, notes, Rosh Prokim, the basic things that he was planning to talk about. This was the first Verbrengen that Rebbe ever gave, and what was it? It was dedicated to Hakhel, because that year was Hakhel year. Who knew then about Hakhel? It was somewhere far from Rambam. Hakhel wasn't. It was buried in a Rambam, and the third Perek in Hilchos
I
Chagiga.
don't know who. I know the Rabbi was into it, and Rabbi Herzog.
Right, Rabbi Herzog. I spoke about it.
But it's, I don't know. Did it ever catch on? I don't know.
And so the Rebbe spoke about it, and one of the things that the Rebbe says, why does the Melech have to do it? The Rebbe says, push it, because like we said, that Tzemach Tzedek says that the job of the Melech is to instill Yiras Shamayim. That's the whole job of the Melech. The job of the Melech is to instill Yiras Shamayim. That's why the Melech reads Parshas Hakhel, because the whole job of Hakhel is L'man Yishmu, L'man Yilmadu, V'yoru es Hashem Elokeichem, to have Yiras Shamayim. So Baruch Hashem we were Machavan. Let me toss it. This was the Rebbe's word. But based on this word, the Rebbe has a Mordic Chiddush to explain this Tosfos. So let's learn the Gemara. Top line. Chazna Knesset said, "Turn Larisha Knesset Shmam Nachel Kum Kovel Tam Chochem Kum Rav Abaye Kulam Shum Kodesh Hamelech." They passed along the Sefer Torah from one authority to the other for the covet of the Melech. The Melech Omed the Makabel Yoshev Agrippas. The Melech Omed the Kibel Kora Omed. Omed Zag the Gemara Omed Mechal the Yoshev. V'Omar Mar En Yeshiv Bazor Al Malach Beis David Levad. Shem Yav Melech David Yeshev Lefnei Hashem. Kedamar B'Chizda Be'ezes Noshim. Kedamar Be'ezes Noshim. The reading in Ezes Noshim, therefore, it was permissible to sit. However, Agrippas HaMelech stood. He didn't stand. He didn't sit, even though it was Ezes Noshim. Chazal were Meshabeach him for reading the Torah while he was standing. So the Gemara Shibchu Mechal the Shapir of it. He did a good job. V'Omer Rabash, I feel a Melech can't be Moichel on his covet. Shenemar Seimtos a Melech HaMelech. Sheteim also Lecha, his fear has to be upon you. So Chacham Meshabeach Agrippas. He had the right to sit and read the Torah, and instead he stood. So he was Moichel in his covet. But for the Gemara asks, he's not allowed to be Moichel in his covet. How could he be Moichel for his covet? What does the Gemara answer? 2 words.
Mitzvah shiny.
Mitzvah shine. Mitzvah is different. The mitzvah. So the Eibush is covered, so it's not a biggie in his covet. Toys is going to have a problem with this. Let's look straight into Toys. Daf Mem Aleph from Beis. You see the top Toys over here? V'ochi Parchin and Ame Perek Kohen Gadol B'Sanhedrin. Kabe Melech. Na Licholet V'Licholet Tzon Leishir Boda Mirotza Lachnas Liab Nezochel Toiv. So the Machloik is there. If a Melech is allowed to do Chalitza or not. So Rabbi Yehuda says he's allowed to. So the Gemara says, V'Omer Rabashi. Rabashi says you're not allowed to be Moichel his covet. A woman spitting on him is not a big covet. To have a woman spit at you is a covet. So the Gemara answers Meshana Mitzvah Shani. Mitzvah is different. Okay. Kasha did he ask the Kasha? Amayla Meshani Ochiv Perek Shein in the Ksuvas. So the same thing the Gemara could say in the second Perek in Ksuvas. It says, Mavinin Asameis Melech Nakala V'Zev V'Zev V'Nei Melech Yisrael. If there's a procession, a funeral procession, or a procession of a kala, and there's a melech walking, you have to stop the levaya and let the melech pass. And then the levaya, same thing with the procession for kala. And the Gemara says, Amr Laval Agrippas HaMelech she'ovar lefon HaKala v'shipchu chacham. he was going with his entourage, and then there was a kala going to the chuppah. So he stopped, and he said, "Let the kala go." After the kala went, he continued on the road. Chachamim were mishabeach Agrippas for doing that. They said he was a tzaddik, he was a good guy for doing this. First toast was the first one of the small lines. Again, he let the kala pass in front of him. Chachamim praised him. The Gemara asks, the shapir of it. He did a good thing. Rabbi says, "In Amelech is not going to be Meichel and Skovid." Mashani, the Gemara answers, "Proshes derochem ave." It was the crossroads, and well, it wasn't nicker that the Melech's kovid is being tarnished. And if he was sitting on his throne, he's not. He has to. His kovid has to come first. You can't give kovid to someone else in front of him. He has to be first. But in the road, yeah, maybe there was something stuck in his shoe and he stopped. It's not nicker that his kovid was being tarnished. Why didn't the Gemara say it's a mitzvah to, it's a mitzvah, like the Gemara says here. Another kasha. The Gemara says, there's another Gemara. The Gemara says that a nasi can be meichel on his kovid. That they were big Talmidei Chachamim and Rabbi Gamliel was serving them. He was serving the guest. The Gemara says, how? How could you do such a thing? The Gemara says, yeah, Rabbi Gamliel was a nosis. It was permissible for him to be meichel on his kovid and to serve the guest. But a melech would be osur. It would be osur for a melech. If a person's a melech, he's not allowed to have guests come to his house and say, you know what? You tell his wife Shaifla, you can sit by the table. I'm going to go into the kitchen and serve soup. I'll bring the stuffed cabbage to the table. It's osur. He's not allowed to do that. It's osur. Not allowed to do that. Some people think they're a melech. So mashma.
But that also shows a nidus.
Yeah, it's also. It's also.
Well, I can't answer that. The first case is coming to tell you a chiddush that even though you don't even have to come to the reason that that's a mitzvah. Maybe you could say that because
of precious derachim.
Yeah. You can tell you a chiddush. You don't even have to.
A different
Maybe,
I hear you, Kasha. I hear. It's a different The Gemara could have said. I think that the answer of a different a lot of times is like reserved for like last resort. If we have, I think so. Like we have no better teretz to say.
That's going to tell you like you didn't even have to come to that reason.
That's true. I get what. Yeah, I don't need that.
Better reason.
Yeah, I didn't.
Wasn't there a situation of the Melech standing in front of?
Right, the Torah. That was something else.
Yes. So,
It was a Torah.
How did it to do it? Was it his daughter?
So you're asking a good question. It's status from here to there. So we'll get to the end of Toysus, see what Toysus formulates as the answer. Mashma afilu b'malka mitzvah. Dumi denosi da he meister Gamliel shir sudas mitzvah. What was a sudas mitzvah? U'machal al kavoyde b'shvil kovet chamidei chachamim. Orchim shem asub mitzvah. The meister lo da Avram Avinu v'oymed aleim tachaseit alma da afilu b'malka mitzvah. So we see that it was a mitzvah, and it was a sudas mitzvah. Still, it was only permissible in Gamliel because he was a nasi. Had it been a melech, it would be also.
Isn't a nasi daimel a melech?
Daimler.
Yeah, but he's not a melech. That's what we just said in the Gemara. That a nasi is allowed to be meichel and cover the melech not. So again, so we have here two stories in the Gemara that sound one way, and two stories a different way. The Gemara over here is Agrippas was allowed to be meichel and covered because it was a mitzvah, so he could stand instead of sitting. Same thing, Rabbi Yehuda says he can let the woman spit at him, wipe, because it's a mitzvah. There's two Gemaras. On the other hand, with two Gemaras, it sounds like he can't be meichel even if it's a mitzvah.
What was the mitzvah and spitting in his eye? Shalom bayis?
No, it was chalitza, the mitzvah of chalitza.
Oh.
And the other hand, we have a Gemara that say not allowed to, and the only reason was mutter because it was prashas derochim. And then another Gemara, he's not allowed to serve the guest by sudas mitzvah. and I don't care that it's a Sudas mitzvah.
There was a case in Gemara that a husband told a wife, I won't take you back on.
That was a mayor. The mayor wasn't a king. The mayor was a nasi. It was Arishan Bezdin. It wasn't a king. Yeah. So Nida the Taritz, the Tosis answers the Dafke Hakhel Shaykh Lamemar Mitzvah Shiny. The Moichel al Kvoide Mishum Kavod Torah. You see here what Tosis is saying. When it's Kavod Torah, he could be Moichel as Kavod. Kavod Shechina. Because there's a cover of the Shechina. Shechina, the Pere Kohen Gadol Lechol Tzom Yam. Merkel Kohen Kaim Mitzvahs Melech Elohim Marabat Shem Shechina Olav. He over there. If he does Chlitza Yibam, he's Moichel's covered for what? For the mitzvah of the Eibishter. The Eibishter said to do the mitzvah, so the woman is spitting at him. Okay, he's spitting at him. Who cares? He's doing the Eibishter's mitzvah. Aval he the Ksuv as a Pere Kaim the Kedushim Shemoichel Akvoide Kital Lachel cover the boss of Adam. Kagon Lakala v'Tamid Chochem, but Zegzeh Zakosav L'Sheina Moichel Afilu B'Makam Mitzvah. But in the story of the Kala, or the story of the this mitzvah, to give cover to a boss of Adam, for Kala, Tamid Chochem, no. Zegzeh Zakosav Sheina Moichel Afilu B'Makam Mitzvah. Sherei mitzvahs kibud atzma, Shem Tzirich and Lasses Boy LaMelech, covered Gedoyla in mitzvahs kibud, Shechayev HaMelech Linik Bohu. There's two. The Melech has to give cover to the Kala and to the Tamid Chochem, but the Tamid Chochem and the Kala have to give cover to the Melech. So whose chiv is bigger, right?
Does the Melech have to have kibbutz b'aim,
Yeah,
even though he's a Melech?
yeah,
He has to serve them and everything, right?
yes. You're asking a good question, actually. You're asking a very good question. Okay, the Toys is saying the Melech is chayiv in the cover to the Kala and the cover to the Tamid Chochem. Tamid Chochem and the Kala chayiv in the cover to the Melech. So who is bigger? The Melech's covet is more important than the Kala and the Tamid Chochem. Why? Because the Eibush says to the Kala and to the Tamid Chochem, you have to place the covet of the Melech in you. So there's no mitzvah for the Melech to give covet to the Kala. There's no mitzvah for the Melech. You can't say he gave covet to the Kala for the mitzvah. There's no mitzvah for him to give. He has to give covet. There's a contradiction. Who should give cover to who? The Kala or the Tamid Chochem to the Melech, or the Melech to the Kala? The Melech's cover is stronger.
That's why it says Parasha Strach.
Huh?
So that's why it says Parasha Strach. They can't say.
So the Rebbe asks, who told Tosfos that the Melech's cover is bigger? How does Tosfos know? Tosfos is saying it's a contradiction. The Melech has to give cover to the Kala Tamid Chochem. Tamid Chochem and the Kala have to give to the Melech. So who is bigger? The Melech is bigger. So that wipes away the other covet. He has to give them covet and not them. They have to give him covet, and Mamela he doesn't have to give them covet. Both can't give covet to each other. So either he's giving covet to the Kala and Tamid Chochem, or the Tamid Chochem and the Kala is giving covet to him. So his covet is more important. Who told Tosfos that his covet is more important?
Maybe because some Tasa Malach is like a mitzvah for everybody. Like you wanted to say covet is Savicha Vesimecha,
Okay, he's asking a good question.
Yeah, no.
It's not Nastaba that a Melech is part of him give it away.
Right, no,
So
it's not.
So why who told Tosfos that this is more? And also the other Shiloh is that so you could say the same. You could ask the same question for the Chalitza. You're saying she's spitting him.
Where does it say? I mean, okay, I don't know, like a Tamid Chochem and a Kala. Where does it say? It says in the Furish, Behedya, and the Kaira. The king it says Saim Tasam Allah. Okay, can't keep it out. It's Kabbalah Savicha Simecha. Okay, Tamid Chochem when they say V'Takum or something.
So that's what Tosfos should have said that.
What?
I hear what you're answering.
I'm not saying I'm just thinking.
No, I hear. If I was in Tosfos' shoes, I would have answered your answer. I would have said that this is not. There's not.
It's the Helen. It's not.
Yeah, it's not. There's nothing foolish. You have to give cover to the Kala. It's not. Here it's a Fedish Apostle. Same doesn't Malach Hamela. It doesn't sound that that's what Tosfos is really saying in his answer. It sounds like really there's a serious chiyuv to give cover to the Kala, a serious chiyuv to give cover to Tamid Chochem. Elamai here there's a contradiction. Should he give them or them him? So his is more important, so wipes away theirs. But who told Tosfos his is bigger? The Rebbe answers, based on what we said before from the Tzemach Tzedek, that why do we have a Melech? Because there's a mitzvah to have Yireh Shamayim. How are we going to have Yiras Shamayim through having a melech like David the Melech? And David the Melech is going to be very humble in front of God. And Amela, everyone is going to learn Yiras Shamayim from the melech. That's a melech has to bow down by Shemon Esrei, and he stays that way for the entire Shemon Esrei. His bittul to the Eibush is to be very, very deep, and we all feed off his bit. He teaches us Yiras Shamayim. So if he's a teacher of Yiras Shamayim, there's a klal that says mitzvahs klolius and mitzvahs protius. Amunas Hashem, Avas Hashem, Yiras Hashem. These are mitzvahs klolius. Then there's mitzvahs protius. Mezuzah, tzitzis. These are mitzvahs protius. Mitzvahs asay, mitzvahs loita say, they're mitzvahs protius. Then there's a mitzvahs klolius. Mitzvahs klolius take precedent over mitzvahs protius.
They're also Tamidus.
Not because it's midius, because the concept that they're more kloli, they're a general mitzvah.
It's the basis of everything
Right, it's
else.
the basis of everything else. So because what the covet of the melech is not his covet, it's the Eibishter's covet. It's the Eibishter's covet. So therefore, if you have a shaila, who should give this? Usually there is a mitzvah to give covet to the kala, but then there's covet that you have to give to the melech. So which covet goes first? The covet that the kala has to give to the melech. Now there's a contradiction. Should we give should the melech give covet to the kala, or the kala to the melech?
Well, you know what? I think they say, how come they have this thing now by the formal weddings, that they stand up for the chassan or the kala because they're like a melech. No, so you could say they're like a melech. No, but the melech, he's the real,
He's the real deal.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's correct, but they say that covered of it's
Any melech or
Melech Yisrael. Here we're talking about Melech Yisrael.
but it's very sound like melech like Manasseh.
Yeah, it doesn't make difference if they're from Yehuda or from if it's Menashe ben Chizkiah or if it's Yerovam ben Avat or if it's Yehu or if it's Yeshafat. Doesn't matter. Rechavam, Yerovam, they're all the same. It comes to Melech by Yidden. If he's a Melech, that's it. There's so that's the Rebbe's answer. That because the covet of the Melech is the whole idea is Yiras Shamayim, and Yiras Shamayim is a mitzvah kloli. It's mistaber to Tosfos that covet is more important than the covet of Kala Talmid Chacham. Now we understand why. However, when it came to Hakhel and the Melech decided to stand, even though he was allowed to sit, this was not a contradiction to Yiras Shamayim. Forget. This helped Yidden have Yiras Shamayim. They see that Agrippas himself has such covet to the Eibishter. So therefore, the Adarab, it helped. You're going to ask me the Shaila when the Yibun Chalitza, why would you say it's permissible for the woman to spit at the Melech? So the Rebbe has a stunning answer. It's interesting. If you look in the Rambam, we pass not like Rabbi Yehuda, we pass like Yochanan. The din is that if a woman Nebach, if the king has one brother and she dies, no children, she stays in Aguna forever. Why? Because we pass like Chachamim. He can't do Be'ibum and he can't do Chalitza. It's not his covet. It's not his covet that a woman will go spit at him. So she stays in Aguna for the rest of her life. So if a woman has ever read a shidduch to the brother of the Melech, you should think twice.
But all the brothers are melech.
Yeah, I'm saying if the Melech has 10 brothers, you're fine. But if the Melech has one brother, and the woman's talking to me and asking if she wants to marry him, I would let her know that this is a problem. Because if the husband dies and there's no children, the Melech can't do Yibum and can't do Chalitza. It's not his covet.
But all the brothers of the melech has to be a melech.
They don't have to be a Melech. Why the brother of a Melech don't have to be, can be a garbage collector.
Melech can't.
The Melech can't be Miyabim or Choylitz. And Rashi says why? Because it's not covered to him, she'll go spit at him. So we see the halachitaka that, and Rabbi Yehuda says, Rabbi Yehuda holds that because it's a mitzvah, she's allowed to spit at him. So who says maybe he holds that this is Moshe that goes to Yerushalayim? Maybe Rabbi Yehuda will hold that Bemes, he was has nothing to do with Prashas Derachim. Maybe he holds that even without Prashas Derachim, it's a mitzvah to give cover to the Kala. Maybe the Buddha doesn't hold of the whole thing of Tyson. That doesn't answer completely your question. When we see this.
Yeah.
But wait, when is the spitting? Only by Chalitza, no?
Yeah.
By Yibam there's no
By Yibam it's
spitting.
not, no, it's not. But it's not his cover. Like he's picking up slack for his brother. Like he's having a baby for his brother. This is not his cover. But by Chalitza it's not his cover because she's spitting at him.
So if there are 10 brothers, which one is the next
If it's
in line?
10, there's gefährlich. I said.
No, who's the next in line for Chalitza?
Usually it's the G'doyel Shabachim, but if he doesn't want to do it, you get anyone
Oh,
else.
it
It's
goes
fine.
in order of
Right, it goes in order. But if he refuses, you go to anyone else. It's fine.
I go to the next.
Right, I'm saying this is a very unusual case. The Melech has only one brother, he has one wife, and he died without. So it's like it's not an everyday thing. So that's the Rebbe's answer. Again, that the whole idea of mitzvah of the Melech is that the Melech teaches us Yiddus Shamayim, and that's why that's a mitzvah kloli. So therefore, it takes precedent over the Kala over Talmud Chacham. But when he has the right to sit in the Beis Hamikdash, he starts to stand for cover the Eibishter. Fakir, that's a Moisef in Yiddus Shamayim. That's very good. That's gewaldig. That's a Moisef in Yiddus Shamayim.
So the covet for the Talmud Chacham, it's not out Yiddus Shamayim.
Right.
It's out the Torah.
It's a Torah, right? And Shenkevi here is Yiddus Shamayim. Now we understand.
Can't you make like Ibur and after that he get before childborn? Let's say he married her and gives get right away.
No, because he's doing the bidding for his brother. He can't do it. It's nicht bekovedik for him. He's got marrying a woman because he wants her. Because his brother, he's forced to marry because of his brother. So
Maybe he's asking, like they used to do when they went out to war, they made get a condition. That's what I think he's asking, the conditional get.
yeah, but he's going to marry her for one day, right? You can't sleep with her without marrying her. That's also. He's going to sleep with her one night.
She's divorced.
How's she divorced? The brother.
Conditional get.
Again, it's a story. It's not. The story happened. The king had one brother. The brother married one woman.
Right.
He died. No children. The Gemara says, what should we do now? Should the king be miyavemer or choylitzer? So the machloikis. One opinion says not coveted. Choylitz shall spit at him. Nish coveted.
I understand, but while I asked him about conditional get, let's say he gets hit by a garbage truck, but he writes in the get.
Who, the melech?
No, the brother. That
Oh, the Chatchili could do a lot of things, sure. But he didn't do it. They're talking about, yeah, he could do that. Sure, he could do that.
That he can do.
Yeah, he could do it, yeah.
They used to do that when they went out to Muhammad.
Yeah, if he did that, that's fine. But we're talking about he didn't do it. But if he does it, yeah, gesundheit, he could do that. So again, to wrap it up, that's why Hakhel has to be done through a melech. Because the whole idea of mitzvahs Hakhel is L'man yishma b'yom v'yoru, and that's the union of Yiddus Shamayim. The melech helps the Yiddus Shamayim. B'zman hazeh, the melech helps us to get Yiddus Tatoah. Mashiach, that's why Talmud Chacham doesn't need a melech. That's why Shmuel was upset that the Yidden asked for a melech. Because Yiddus Tatoah, Talmud Chacham doesn't need a melech for that. Mashiach will come, he's going to teach us Yiddus Eloah. They shall help him, Mitzvah Hashem, that we should have Mashiach Tzidkenu, and then we're all going to enjoy having the melech.
We'll need a melech anymore.
We're going to